Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Leo Cuadrado. I'm the Executive Director for New Directions for Veterans.
Oh, very nice. So let's jump into it. What do you tell us a little bit more about Veterans and New Directions?
Yeah, so New Directions for Veterans started in 1992, but before then it was a Department of Veteran Affairs program, and it was a rehabilitation program where it helped returning service members from Vietnam era uh, overcome their addiction and gain sobriety. And so in late 91, they decided to do away with the program due to budgetary cuts. And two of the alumni, along with a community member, Tony Reines, Larry Williams and Tony Reines, they basically were trying to get funding to revive the program. And it took them, they went through all the congressmen, and they finally came to the last congresswoman who was very new to Congress. Her name is Maxine Waters. And they told her about the program that they wanted to revive. She asked them if they had a business plan. They said, we do. And so she looked it over, and she was able to get them a $1.5 million grant to rehabilitate a building, which is Building 116.
Is that the one that I went into?
It is,
Okay.
yes, at the Department of Veteran Affairs in West LA. And they remodeled the building, and they started New Directions for Veterans again in 1992. We've been going strong for 30 years. We currently house three programs. One is called the Low Demand Program, which we put very low demand on our residents. All we ask is that they come home and sleep there. And then we have the clinical program, which is more for like what it was originally designed for, is for veterans looking to remain sober or gain sobriety. At both of those programs, they can stay up to 2 years. They're Building 116, is transitional housing. We have case managers there, clinicians that work with them and help them put together an individual service plan to reach their goals. And of course, the ultimate goal for us is to get them permanently housed. And so we also have the Bridge program, which is a 90-day program. And that program is for veterans who have their VASH voucher, which is very similar to Section 8 voucher.
What is that?
So basically, it's a subsidized voucher that, depending on their income level, they'll pay, say, 10%, and it could be covered 100% depending on the veteran.
Oh.
So if they have some sort of income, then they base it on their annual income, and they adjust the percentage. And so they would just pay a percentage of rent to a landlord, property manager, and we have housing navigators there at Building 116 that help them find a suitable location where they want to live. We usually try to meet their needs. If they want to live in a certain area due to being closer to family, then we try to find them a property that's willing to accept a VASH voucher in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you offer to some of the veterans in the program?
So we offer, it's kind of like a wraparound services model, where if the veteran needs help getting a copy of their DD-214, getting a driver's license, doing their taxes, getting appointments, with their doctor, if they need rides, to see their doctor. We help them remain medication compliant. We offer different groups, that they have to attend throughout the week. And we have clinicians there that, are giving them therapy and addressing any issues that may arise. And then as we get closer to finishing up the individual service plan, then that's when the housing navigators begin doing their work in trying to find them housing in the area that they're desiring.
Oh, nice. Didn't you have biofeedback?
We do,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. We have a biofeedback program where for the veterans that do attend it, what it does is retrains the brain. So it's being used all throughout the country. It's been used to treat autism, any mental health disorder.
I didn't know it's used to treat autism.
It
Wow.
is, yes. So as you can imagine, it can get very expensive.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that it can cost anywhere between $1,800 to $3,000 for a full 6-week session.
Oh, wow.
And so it gets pricey, but our veterans get it for free.
Yeah, that's right.
And some of the things that the veterans that have done the program report is that they're able to sleep throughout the night.
Wow.
We've had veterans that have quit drinking, that have quit smoking, has reduced their PTSD symptoms, and overall, I've heard nothing but good things. And so we've just expanded it to the OASIS program, which is at Building 257. That's our women's program. It's transitional housing as well. And there we have up to 18 women that can stay there. At Building 116, we have up to 151.
Oh, wow. But is that even enough though?
Well, yeah, it's not enough for the women's program because, of course, there's a lot more women out there that need assistance. But we do struggle to find them because a lot of women don't identify as veterans, and a lot of them also suffered from military sexual trauma. Where they don't want to be around any men. And so OASIS was designed with that in mind, so there's no male staff at that building. And so we try to meet them where they're at. But you're right, that there could be more housing for women out there, but there really isn't. And we knew there was a need for that. And so did the VA. That's why they converted that building for that purpose.
And so how did you get involved with New Directions?
So I actually served in the Marine Corps 20 years. I retired in 2014. And it's funny, when you're transitioning away from the military, you have to do a program called Tap and Tap, where it's a transitioning program to help you find a job, help you get the certificates that you need, and basically what to expect when you transition over to the civilian side. And I went to a mixer where...
Mixer.
Yeah. It was like the capstone of this little program. And they had all of us stand up and pitch, what their dream job would be. And when it came to be my turn, I was thinking about it. I was like, well, I love running, the operations of a battalion. So I said, well, dream job would be being the chief operating officer of a company. And I said, probably like a nonprofit. I still have that sense of service in me. And at the time, I was commuting from LA all the way to Camp Pendleton, which is like 100 miles each way. Yeah, so my son was, 5 years old. And so I said, preferably, I wanted to be in LA. That's where I grew up, so I want to give back to the community I grew up in. And then at the end of the mixer, some guy comes up to me. He's like, hey, I know of a nonprofit in LA that's looking for a chief operating officer. I said, oh, really? And so he gave me the name. It was called A Place Called Home, APCH. And I called them up, and they're like, oh, so sorry, we just filled the position. I was like, okay, no, don't worry about it. And I told them, well, ignore my resume. I submitted it online. And about a week later, they called me back. They're like, hey, are you still interested? I said, absolutely. And I asked, well, what happened? And they're like, well, the individual we offered it to turned it down. And so we're starting to search all over again. And, 5 interviews later, I got selected, and I was doing that for a couple of years. And then a headhunter approached me and said, hey, how would you like to be the chief executive officer for a nonprofit that helps veterans? And I said, you know what? That wouldn't be a bad, gig. I was starting to miss the camaraderie, of being in the military, and I still wanted to, serve. And so I said, yeah, that'd be great. And, so interviewed for it, had to do a whole presentation, a business plan and everything.
A business plan?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Like how I was going to move the company in the right direction and all that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's grueling, it was like a gauntlet. And became a finalist, and then I was number 2. So when I saw the announcement, it was a colonel, And I said, I knew it. I was going to get outranked. So, I was a captain back then. And so, I made peace with that. And then the chairman of the board reached out to me and said, hey, we really liked you. It was a tough call. But we're thinking of creating a chief operating officer role. Would you be interested? I said, yes, would love to. And so they hired me on for that. And then shortly later, the CEO resigned, wanted to pursue her law degree, and felt that she wouldn't be able to give it her all if she stayed as the CEO, and didn't want to basically not give 100% to New Direction. So she resigned, and I got promoted, and so it worked out for me.
Yeah, you're just pushing people out of the way.
I made her life miserable, and she's like, that's it, I'm resigning, right?
She was getting angry letters. She's like, you know what, I don't need this. And it was you the whole time.
The whole time.
Oh,
But
man.
it worked out. So I've been with New Directions for the last 5 years. We went through some hard times. We're in danger of closing our doors when I first took over.
Oh, wow.
They had lost their clinical license, and so got to work, and we were able to revive the clinical license and bring back the clinical program. And since then, we've opened the Oasis program for the women. We've been CARF accredited, which is an accreditation that they give to rehab facilities.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and you go through a grueling process. It reminded me of an inspecting general visit, where like a whole team comes.
Oh, wow.
And they go through every program that you have.
Yeah.
They go through all the facilities to make sure that you're meeting,
All the
all the
things.
wickets.
Yeah.
And so New Directions had tried numerous years in getting it.
Yeah.
But because it was like an inspecting general
Yeah.
inspection, we knew exactly what, we
What
got
to
the
do,
team
yeah.
together, what to do. And we've been CARF accredited for the last 4 years. And
Wow.
yeah.
That's impressive. That's like going through those things, like to qualify for something with the state is always.
It is. It is very nerve-wracking,
Yeah.
and we also partner with developers, and so we have 13 permanent supportive housing sites, which is over 600 units that we have throughout LA County and Orange County. And so there we provide the same services that we do at Building 116, but it's more, for individuals that have been permanently housed.
Yeah.
And so some of these guys that live on a limited income, by the end of the month, they run out of resources. And so we have a pantry there. In some sites, we have a large public kitchen. So our resident service coordinators will cook, some
That's cool.
home cooked meals towards the
Yeah.
end of the month to make sure that everybody can get by,
Yeah.
until the first.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. I'm curious, what are some things that you would like to see for New Directions, like to grow the program that you would think would better the veterans? Yeah.
Yeah, so, I've noticed that since I first came on, the residents that we're serving are becoming older. So more Vietnam era,
Yeah.
Korean War era veterans, are coming in through these programs now. Not so much Operation Iraqi Freedom or Enduring Freedom. So every once in a while you see one or two, but for the most part is the older generation. And so we want to be able to serve more of them and ensure that we have the right services for them.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're kind of excited to team up with Monarch, because they offer like a rehabilitation, getting your life together, healthy mindset, and we really like that, because I think that's what our veterans need, to be able to become more active,
Yeah.
be able to walk up some stairs,
Yeah.
be able to bend down and pick something
something
up
up
that
without-
they dropped, right?
Yeah.
But would also love to go national
Yeah,
and
same.
serve more veterans,
Yeah.
throughout the nation, that the country that they served. And there's some cities that need some assistance, and so we'd like to be that organization.
Yeah, 100%. My vision is global, but I'm going to start with California and then the United States,
Right.
and then kind of move from there. I want for this to be something that is a source of freedom in every sense of that word.
Right.
Like physical freedom, emotional freedom, and literal like freedom to just like go and do something without having that barrier. You know, because as I told you when we first met, the thought that veterans are kind of just shoved aside after they're like the people that literally fight so that I can like stuff my face with whatever like I want. Like to me, it's so backwards. And then talking to Darren about some of the things that's going on, I'm just like what? Like it's just there's so many backwards like just like mind and vision. I'm just like what the heck? So I commend you in your efforts. You know, it's not easy what you're doing, putting this together, especially with a lot of the pushback that I heard that a lot of the veterans and the veterans programs get as like making it easily accessible for them to even get like a standard level of care.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so it's as someone told me, it's like you're doing the Lord's work. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I first joined. There was a little bit more patriotism, you know,
Yeah.
where, you know, they were very thankful for the military.
Yeah.
And then I've seen like a degradation of, you know, of that. Like a lot of companies used to give military discounts back in the day.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, sorry, it's only, you know, law enforcement and fire department discounts.
The heck?
Yeah, I'm like,
Like what?
wow, I'm like, you know, the military is serving all throughout the world,
Yeah.
ensuring that we have the right to, you
Like,
know,
everything doesn't matter if you don't ensure the freedom thing.
right. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I commend the great work that our fire department, law enforcement does. But
Why are you excluded?
Yes, that was the only piece. I'm like, why are we excluded?
Yeah, it's like, why did I get picked to go to the party, you know? Like, it's kind of, you take offense to it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, wow, okay, thanks.
I have a question for you, because I've always been fascinated by people who join the military and the Army, and my grandfather was in the Navy. What was it like being in the military?
You know, when I first joined the military, I was a troubled youth. Yeah, I mean, but you know, it was the neighborhood I grew in, grew up in, and you know, a lot of drug use, you know, and I got caught up with all of that, and you know, was placed on probation, and violated probation. I was going to go to jail, you know, and then when a Marine recruiter approached me at high school, he's like, "You ever thought about joining?" I said, "Yeah, my cousin, you know, served, and we used to drive by Camp Pendleton every time on the way down south, you know, to visit friends and family, and it was something that I knew I would do eventually, but I'm like, now I can't." And he's like, "Why not?" And I explained to him my issues with the law, and and he's like, "Well, that don't sound too bad, you know. Maybe you just need to talk to the judge and let him know you want to change your life." And I was like, "Well, sure, you know, let's give it a shot." And so did the ASVAB test, and you
What's
know,
that?
it's an entry level test that they do, the military does, to see what you're best suited for. You know, so they won't put you in an administrative job if you know doing admin work doesn't even interest you, or you test well in that. And so I did very well on the technical side, so they gave me a technical assignment. And when I went to boot camp, you know, I had all these drill instructors yelling at me, and I had a problem with authority. So I would get in a lot of trouble with our drill instructors, and they knew me way too well. So that was tough. And you know, it's funny, the drill instructors are the ones that are like, you know, tearing you up, and the senior drill instructor, he's like daddy. You know, he's the nice guy.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So senior drill instructor approached me and was like, you know, "What's going on with you? Like, do you not want to be here?" And you know, he noticed that I was going through a lot of inner conflict, and so he took me to graduation of one of the platoons ahead of us in training to motivate me. And he's like, "This could be you in a few weeks." And that was enough to see somebody that cared,
Yeah.
about me, change me.
Yeah.
And after that, it was like flipping a switch.
Yeah.
I was the fastest guy there, and things dramatically changed for me,
Yeah.
and started getting meritoriously promoted. Got meritoriously promoted a couple ranks quicker than everybody else, so I made E6 almost in record time in 6 years.
Nice.
Usually takes you about 8 to 10 years, depending on the field that you're in.
Yeah.
And when I decided, we had a colonel that wanted to change a telephone switchboard that cost like 1.5 million, and I did a recommendation not to upgrade the whole system, but just to do like software updates.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have cost us only 100,000 back then. And he decided to change the whole system, so it cost us 1.5 million, and we had all kinds of issues. Yeah. And so I'm like, I'm your subject matter expert. Why wouldn't you listen to me? And
Oops.
yeah. And so I realized that if I didn't switch over to the officer side, I wasn't going to make a difference in the Marine Corps.
Oh, wow.
And so that's why I opted to switch over to the officer side. And it's a very competitive program to get into, but was very blessed to get selected. And they sent me here to UCLA, get my undergrad.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We're both UCLA. I graduated, but I didn't get a diploma.
How's that work?
I walked the stage, shook the hand, smiled, got the class ring, and then I didn't finish a couple credits.
Oh, no.
So I graduated, but I didn't get my diploma.
It's funny. That is a reoccurring nightmare for me.
Well,
and
I lived it.
And I'll tell you why. Like I mentioned, high school, God, I had a 1.6 GPA,
Yeah.
right? And getting into all kinds of trouble. So I think the highest math at that time was maybe geometry that I did.
Yeah.
UCLA, they start you at calculus.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had to do a 6-week course at Santa Monica Community College
I
to try to
remember Santa Monica College.
to try to learn all this stuff, that I was
Yeah.
going to get exposed to it. And man, I struggled with calculus. I would understand all the concepts,
Yeah.
but I would go to office hours. I'm like, well, how'd you get from here to here? And they're like, oh, it's the quadratic formula. I'm like, you remember that from trig, right? I'm like, I never took trig, So
Yeah.
and so there was this one class where I had a hard time understanding the professor, and for some reason that imprinted in me.
Mm-hmm.
And so to this day, I'll have a nightmare where I'm still in that class, and I'm like, oh my God, I still haven't graduated.
Oh, no.
So you tell me, I walk stage when they were graduating. That's how I feel.
So you know how I feel. No, I'm good. I think maybe one day I might go back just to like,
Yeah,
because
knock
it's
it out.
a few credits. Like I was
Right.
like, duh. But yeah, I think I had already been in school for like 8 years, or no, more than 8 years. So it was like I was just done. And
Yeah.
so when I didn't get the credits, I was like, it's fine.
I already checked the box. I walked
Everybody
stage.
thinks I graduated, or everybody thinks I got the diploma, so
Right.
we're good. I don't know. I walked. I literally have pictures. My whole family thought like I got my
Oh
diploma.
my God. Do they know now? Because they might be listening to this. And they're like,
No, they do. My ex didn't know. Everybody thought like I literally graduated. Even my classmates were like, "Oh, we did it," and I'm
right.
just like, "Yeah, we did it."
that's funny.
Yeah, no, it's a good story. So like, part of me is like, yeah, just leave it. So, but I guess it comes into handy when I talk about art history, and I'm like, I studied art history, but I realize I can't say I can say I graduated, but I'm not a college graduate.
True.
One is a lie,
Yes.
one is one is the truth.
Yeah.
'Cause it did.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, so I felt bad because I gave a speech. It was actually where Darren was, and I gave the speech, and I was like, "Oh yeah," and I studied UCLA, and I graduated. And I paused when I said it. I was like, "Did I just lie to this entire group of people?" And I was like, "Oh my God," because like I did study, but I did graduate, but they're really under the impression that I got the diploma.
Well, you practically did. I mean,
Yeah, it was a couple classes. Like I literally, and the class was sign language, and I think two other. I just didn't finish the finals.
Okay.
So I went through the whole class. Like
Right,
I completed
yeah.
all those. I just didn't know final.
I had a computer science class where, we were studying red trees and black trees and this program, C++, and I studied all the wrong stuff, right? Because there was so much. So, you're like, either I become really good at this,
Yeah.
or mediocre on both, right?
Yeah.
And so I showed up to the final. I opened it up. I'm like, oh my God, I studied the wrong stuff. So I get back up and go talk to the professor. I'm like, can I drop this class? I didn't want to take the final. I'm like, and he's like, nope, can't drop it. You already opened the final exam. I was like, oh,
One of those.
yeah.
Yeah.
I still ended up passing the class, and but I thought it was going to be horrible.
Done.
I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be a massacre.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I think I performed a number of things like that, but I was really good at. You ever see Clueless?
Yeah.
So I was a little bit like Cher through school. Like I had talked my way into extensions, out of classes,
Right.
and was just and I talked my way into grades. There was one class I took it, and I was one of his best students. But I know I didn't take the second final, and he gave me an A.
He's like, I must have lost it.
I know, and I was just like, all right, cool.
Like, I'm not going to disclose that I lost.
And it was I was the biggest shock because I was like, I know that I didn't take that final, and I was like, but I got and I'm like, an A. I was like, all right, cool, but I would have gotten an A in that class, so I think maybe he just knew, and
Yeah.
it was just kind of like, hey.
She's trying to make a statement. Good on her.
didn't want to hold me back from
Right.
my ambitions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's actually another thing. Was a college professor on one of my projects. I failed at it, but they put overly ambitious, and I thought that was quite the compliment.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, I like it. Like I'm setting the bar really high, but it just means I don't understand where I'm at. So yeah, so that's like setting up this podcast studio. I'm like, I'm going full blown. Like I have a huge audience, but I don't. So I'm trying to
We're
manifest it.
surrounded by a great audience right here.
Yeah. These actually were in my room, and then I was like, oh, these would be great backdrop, and so now they're here.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would like to share that's on your mind? Anything interesting, fun, or about the veterans? We can go anywhere.
Well, we like to do these outings with the veterans. So every year we try to do a staff versus resident baseball game.
That's cool.
So yeah, I mean, if anybody has time to come meet with our veterans, I mean, they'd love to talk, to volunteers, and
I would love to.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'd
you
love
gotta
to
let
have
me
you.
know. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, tomorrow we have some volunteers showing up, and then June 24th, I believe. I think it's June 23rd or 24th.
I'll put it in my phone.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
We have some more
I'll
volunteers,
wait
but
Just get on here.
our veterans love outings, so we're always trying to team up with different organizations that may have something for our veterans to do.
Yeah.
We've teamed up with the Lakers, the Clippers,
Very cool.
Dodgers, so we, get tickets, a couple times a year, and we take them out to these events, and they love it.
Well, you got to bring some to the event on June 17th.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As many veterans as they like. It's going to be free food and free entertainment and free different health and wellness things for them to have access to.
Yeah.
So I would love.
Yeah, we'll definitely set something up
Yeah,
for that.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off. I was.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
you're good. For your listeners out there, if they want to learn more about New Directions, our website is ndvets.org. We're always, of course, looking for donations and volunteers. If anybody wants to make a difference, in one of our warriors, lives, that we would be very appreciative.
Yeah. No. My goal is big. Like I want to change the entire system for the veterans and make it so that it's like unbelievably easy for them to have access
Yes,
to,
I mean,
to stuff.
my experience, and I consider myself a pretty smart guy, like,
Yeah.
you know, being able to figure out systems and stuff like that, but I struggled getting into the Department of Veteran Affairs system. Like, it took me 3 tries to finally get my little white ID.
Really?
Yes.
Why is it like jumping through like circus hoops that are on fire?
And, you know, that's something that, like, I told the governor's office when they reached out to me about some support with some projects that he was putting together. I was telling him, look, when we're in the military, if we're being stationed overseas, before we showed up, we would get assigned a sponsor family.
Mm-hmm.
They would reach out to us, you know, before we went. If you had a family with kids, they would send you a little welcome packet where they tell you all the local schools in the area, which ones they preferred, you know, anything that you would need to set you up for success. Well, like I mentioned, when I transitioned, we had a class, but it was resume writing, you know,
Right.
basic stuff that will get you in the door if you know what you're doing.
Right.
But I wish we had a sponsor program for those transitioning families. So
Yeah.
if they say, hey, I'm moving to LA, then hey, I'm Leo, you know, welcome to LA.
Yeah.
This is how you know, apply to the, you know, West LA, you know,
It's like a guide.
VA system. Yeah, just
Yeah.
somebody to hold their hand to
Yeah.
help them out with that transition.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, I know of these companies that are looking for this flavor, you know,
Yeah.
employee. You know, if you're interested, these are the current openings that I know of. You know, stuff like that to help these transitioning families. And I hate to say it, it's you know, we get used to that.
Yeah.
And so when we transition, we're like, we don't know what to do.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
we're waiting for somebody to give us direction. Like,
Yeah.
this is, where's my superior to tell me,
Yeah.
you
What
know,
I
what
need
my
to-
orders are,
yeah.
right? And so I think that's what we need, you know, for our transitioning, you know, service members. Some assistance in that fashion, like you said. We want to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
You know, these guys are, you know, fatigued. We had individuals that are leaving that have done 5 tours, you know, overseas, and it's ridiculous. You know,
Wow.
they're fatigued, they're tired,
Yeah.
and now you expect me to get
Now
out
swim.
and figure it all out. You know, it's hard, and a lot of them are dealing with certain demons. You know,
Yeah.
and if they're not getting the assistance that they need, it's very easy to fall prey, you know, to any vice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely easy. Like I know myself. Like when life is really shitty, it's really easy to compound the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so like yeah, that sponsorship program though, that's I understand it. I would not have ever thought about that. But like the transition where you're being told and what to do, how to be, like where to go, your mind's in a different. It's running a different program, right?
Right,
And then when you
yeah.
get here, where it's just like fun, like good luck.
Yeah.
Like it's a complete 180. It's like, well, what do I do? Like, you know, it's like it's. I can see how that could be really daunting, and then having that support system is
Right.
is incredibly vital
Yes.
for their mental, physical, and emotional health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know that the city and Department of VA, they get hit on this issue, right, a lot.
Yeah.
But it's not from a lack of trying. I mean, they're definitely trying to ensure that, you know, they can help out these veterans. It's just that, you know, they don't know how.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Not 100%. So I think that's the change that needs to happen is, you know, let's start catching them as soon as they're leaving the service to ensure that they're successful, so that a couple years down the line they're not falling victim to homelessness or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. Or it's so that they know that they have a place to go before it gets to that point.
Absolutely.
Like that would be incredibly vital. You know, I had a friend who became homeless, and then I saw him on the street, and I felt helpless to be able to help him. And it's like we don't have anything that helps people that are on the verge of that. It's either you're there or you win off.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah, and those little, you know, I don't even know what to call them, like loopholes, right? That
Yeah.
if you're not exactly homeless, then you don't qualify for certain,
Yeah.
programs. It's hard to navigate.
I couldn't, I imagine. I would definitely have been that way had I not had parents who had me and wanted to take care of me and were like, okay, we'll help you, and took me to like the right program to navigate that.
Right.
And so like I was able to not go where my friend went. And so it's, whenever I see that, I'm like, I was like this, but it's like, I wouldn't have known what to do or where to go. And like, it's mind blowing, and it's so, it shouldn't be a thing.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Like, I know of a young lady that, with her mom had a very, bad episode with an experience where she couldn't function anymore because of this experience that she came across. And so they became homeless, and the daughter, at the time, I think she had just turned 18, and they were trying to find a shelter that they can both go to, and they're like, yeah, we can take you in, but you can't stay together. She's an adult now, so she has, we don't have room for her over here, so she did have to go there. So they didn't want to separate.
Yeah.
But, just little things like that, right, that
What's that emotional bond with somebody?
Right.
That could be vital to both of their growth and being able to support each other through
Absolutely.
that. But the fact that systems like, I'm sorry, you can come, but you can't.
doesn't make sense.
No, it just
know?
makes it harder.
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Just things like that,
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that, I'm sure that when they're putting together programs, they don't think of all the scenarios, and
Yeah.
and then when you come across a scenario like that, you look at it black and white, like,
Yeah.
oh, you don't qualify because of this, and there's no wiggle room
Yeah.
to make an exception to the policy.
Yeah, no, that's definitely something to be worked on, and so yeah, wow. So I guess, any final things that you would like to share with us today?
Just that our veterans need us.
Yeah.
They've done so much for our country, and I think it's our duty as as a nation to ensure their success when they transition out. And if any of them fall into bad times, we should be there to give them a hand up, not a hand me down. And so
Yeah.
I'm hoping that everybody else agrees with me, and we all take to action and let's do something about it.
Yeah, yes, they're the ones that fight for us to be free and here and who we are, and so I'm honored that I have this opportunity. My phone agrees to be here and to help you with this. I am including the veterans and everything with my vision and for the foundation, and I'm going to make a difference in the world.
We're very grateful. And, thank you so much.
Is there, you want to give your information if anybody wants to reach out to you for volunteer or just questions?
Absolutely. So like I said, the website is www.ndvets, as in New Directions Veterans, and it's abbreviated, ndvets.org. My phone number, I'm okay giving it out.
If you want, I don't know. You could, if you want people to call you,
that's
sure.
fine. If that way I can direct them to the right department. 310-497-4936.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much. It's truly an honor, and I look forward to the future.
Likewise, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Milo.
Thank you. Thank you for your service, man.
Thank you.